So I guess, and like, what do you think, and for you, because I know you like this subject and you like to teach, between history and how to, in a better sense, how to make a man a better man. So I guess for like people who are listening, because I have a lot of people who are like entrepreneurs and a lot of, some of them are women and some of them are men. And, I guess a lot of them like don't know sometimes what roles they should play in cultural aspect, because a lot of us are, we're all entrepreneurs and we're all trying to do this and we're all trying to do that. And, for you, I guess, what do you as a man, and you and I as a man, like, what do we strive for in terms of being who we are supposed to be? Like what do you think would be the best advice you would give to someone who's just like, gosh, I don't even know who I am anymore, because like the world is just changing so much,
Yeah. Well, I think that my simple answer, I'd like to think I follow my own advice, is study heroes. And what I mean by that is, after I left academia, I started this podcast, The Cost of Glory, because I had this feeling that, and it took me a while to really figure this out, honestly, that heroes have a really important moral function in like not just in kind of making more heroic men, but making men in general be the best version of themselves at every level. So I got really interested in this ancient philosopher, Plutarch. So Plutarch is, he's kind of the inspiration for my podcast. He wrote this very, very influential set of books that used to be bestsellers throughout, from the Renaissance on to the American founding fathers, the 19th century. He's kind of gone out of fashion in academia. I don't think that was an accident. But so Plutarch wrote, it's a biography collection of parallel lives. And he's basically written the lives, the biographies in short, digestible form of 48 or so just amazing men of Greece and Rome, heroes. And Plutarch is a student of Plato and Aristotle, the philosophers. I mean, he lives several centuries later, but he's following their teachings. And I think he had this crucial insight that in order to live your best life, you should pursue virtue. Okay, that's not his insight. That's all the philosophers tell you that. But Plutarch really took this thing that he got from both Plato and Aristotle, that storytelling in particular is really, really key to our like moral formation as humans. And we kind of learn how to be virtuous. We learn how to be excellent. We learn how to like work hard. We learn how to be courageous, mainly from watching other people, especially in stories, especially like this is how morals have been transferred from generation to generation, especially like at the highest level, like the aspirational stories, the kind of character traits that make people capable of becoming leaders. Like these you have to instill by heroic storytelling. I mean, other philosophers kind of hint at this. Seneca will hint at this. But Plutarch said, I'm going to put all my chips on this one principle. And so he wrote this just classic of Western literature, the Parallel Lives. And in it are guys like Julius Caesar and Alexander the Great. And not just those guys, but the men around them, the men who they looked to as heroes. Cicero, the great Roman orator, looked to Demosthenes, the great Greek orator. Julius Caesar, famously, he's like 30 years old. He's on a tour of duty in Spain, and he finds himself in this temple of Hercules and standing before a statue of Alexander the Great, who lived about 250 years before him. And his friends see him weeping. And they're like, Caesar, what are you doing? Crying in front of a statue. He's like, yes, don't you realize how many things this man accomplished when he was my age, and I haven't done a tenth of them. So like there's this whole pattern of, you can see heroes honoring other heroes, and you can see this all played out in Plutarch's lives. And so what I recommend for men is like the heroic is there to bring out the best in you. And it sounds really it's like deceptively simple. but we really need to like listen to these stories, read these stories. And so what I'm doing in my podcast is basically retelling in as much detail as is convenient, but like trying to stay concise, the biographies of the heroes from Plutarch's lives. So I'm on a tear right now, and I'm going to get to Julius Caesar shortly, but I'm not right now doing some of the men that were around him that influenced him, his father-in-law, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, that's been very, very impactful for me when I leaned into that myself, kind of later in life, in my 30s. Like, this is it. This is what we need to be doing much more. And these things were taken out of our culture kind of on purpose
Right.
over the course of the 20th century, which is a whole nother story.
Mm-hmm. I know it's funny. It's interesting is, I don't remember who says, I don't know if it was my grandfather, I'm Italian, by the way. So my family imported here from Sicily, my father's side. And I'm sure you've heard this before, the saying where it feels like everyone says this aspect, but it's like, there's no such thing as mistakes and there's no such thing as on purpose. It's literally, it's all planned out, and I guess like, for you, like if let's just say magically someone were to come back, who do you think the best person should come back as from ancient history to redo our history books and redo our history that we have today?
Yeah, I love Plutarch, of course, and there's so many of the biographies that he covers are these great statesmen. I mean, a lot of people. Elon Musk recently was tweeting about one of Plutarch's heroes, the general Sulla, who famously, started and won an incredibly bloody Roman civil war and slaughtered all of the corrupt people and oligarchs in Rome. So Elon's like, maybe we need another Sulla. But yeah, I think for myself, and I did a series on Sulla, and I think he's a fascinating character that could deserve some more attention today, not necessarily for the whole mass murder thing, but he had other real qualities that people loved him for. But